I'm now going to call Jess Brown-Fuller to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr Mundell, and it is a pleasure to open this debate on the importance of a creative arts education. I refer members to my register of interests, both as chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Performing Arts and Education and also as trustee of Chichester Festival Theatre. Throughout December, my diary, like all members across the House, is jam-packed with wonderful celebrations across our constituencies that feature a celebration of the arts, be it carol concerts in local churches, school plays and pantomimes. I've loved the live music on my high street at the Chichester Christmas Market. I had a fantastic time being the guest judge at the Priory Park pantomime. And once the house rises, I'll be off to enjoy the Chichester Festival Youth Theatre's production of Cinderella with my family, a professional production on the main stage. A stage that I had the privilege of performing on as a member of that very same youth theatre, an experience that I still treasure as an adult and one that encouraged me to continue my education in the creative arts. After studying drama at GCSE and A-level, I went on to Chichester University and obtained a degree in performing arts. And before this giddy world of politics ensnared me, I had the privilege of teaching the next generation performing arts at various organisations and in schools. And I am living proof that a creative education can lead you anywhere, including to this place. Mr Mundell, the arts and cultural sector contribute well over £8 billion each year to the UK economy. It puts £2.5 billion directly into the Treasury through taxation, and the creative industries as a whole generated £125 billion in 2022. They account for almost 6% of the UK economy, create 2.5 million jobs, and has a huge impact on the tourism economy, with 1 in 10 tourists to the UK visiting a theatre. Theatres sell 34 million tickets a year across the UK. We have a duty as a country. Happily give way.
Thank you, Mr Mundell. She's making an excellent speech. May I commend her for work in this area. Does she agree with me that there are many wonderful venues which could be developed across towns and cities in this country? In my area, Reading Jail has incredible potential. It's been derelict for some time. It's bought recently. We're trying to see what arts provision can be provided there. Does she agree with me that there's enormous scope for developing more theatre and art space across the country, and this can provide incredible value to local communities?
I thank the Honourable Member for his intervention, and I commend him on his work in this particular area, trying to get Reading Jail opened as an art space. And I refer to a project in Selsey in my constituency, which is trying to restore a beautiful old pavilion that used to hold many an event and then was left to go to rack and ruin. And the Selsey Pavilion Trust are working tirelessly to try and get that venue up and running so that the Selsey community can enjoy arts once again in their own town. Because we do have a duty as a country to ensure that the next generation of employees are suitably equipped to join a sector that can drive the growth and innovation that the UK needs more than ever. We must ensure that a career in the arts continues to be seen by our young people as a viable and valuable choice well into the future. And I remember having that debate with my mum in an Italian restaurant at the age of 18 after I had been accepted to go to university to study business, and I confessed that I was following that path so I could go and get a proper job, and that I didn't believe she could possibly support me in following my real desire to go and study theatre. Luckily she did, and it paid off because I turned down that place at university, and a year later went to Chichester University to study theatre. And my degree not only taught me the craft of performing arts, but also developed valuable personal and employment skills such as collaborative working, demonstrating initiative and problem solving. And I want to be clear, Mr Mundell, that the creative arts are a broad field that includes many artistic disciplines. So although my background is performing arts and drama, when I talk about a lack of creative arts in our education system, I am referring to not just drama, but music, dance, visual arts, creative writing, textiles, and the design and technology subjects. In this debate, I would like to focus on the structure of the English Baccalaureate and the failure to include arts subjects, which is putting arts education in an urgent state of crisis in the UK and will have a wider impact on the creative sector if not addressed by this government. The English Baccalaureate requires children to take up GCSEs in several subjects, none of which are in the arts. Since the introduction in 2010, arts subjects have seen a drastic decline in the number of students taking them further in their education, with drama seeing a 29% decrease, there's been a 24% decrease in music, and the 6 design and technology subjects have reduced by 65%. You compare that to geography, which has seen an increase in 42%, history an increase in 33%, and the single sciences are up by 38%. This is very apparent in my constituency, where Chichester College are investing in a state-of-the-art STEM building, which is due to open shortly, and I applaud their work in getting that building up and running, while cancelling their drama A-level this coming year to new students due to a lack of take-up, which has upset multiple students in the Chichester constituency. Happily give way.
I come from Falmouth, which has a world-leading arts university, and the idea of STEAM, where you have the arts, so you have the creativity of the arts that unlocks some of the creativity in science and tech, and that's where you get breakthroughs. Would the honourable member agree?
I thank the honourable member for her intervention, and I'm glad that she's the first person in the room to raise STEAM, because adding arts to the STEM subjects is a really viable way of making sure that we open up the curriculum in such an important way. And I note that when I visit private schools in my constituency, that their arts departments are flourishing. And an article in the Times in November found that nearly half of all BAFTA-nominated film and television directors were educated at independent schools, and 1 in 6 was educated at Oxford or Cambridge, which highlights the stark class inequalities in access to the creative industries, which will worsen if the trend for deprioritising arts education continues in state schools and colleges. Now, I will not ask honourable members to take my word for it, Mr Mundell. Earlier this week, I spoke to Hugh Bonneville, and yes, I am willing to name drop my friend, who wrote in his book, Playing Under the Piano, about a school visit that he attended in 2019 to a newly built academy that taught around 2,000 students. Now, it was an impressive school, but it had no music provision, no choir, no band, no studio space for drama or dance, and the students who were working on scenes from Romeo and Juliet were pushing the bookshelves to one side in a corner of the library to create a rehearsal space. And as Hugh wrote in his book, how on earth is the next generation of those who drive the multi-billion-pound entertainment and creative industries to be discovered or even to take part? The current structure of the baccalaureate is opposed by teachers, education experts, trade unions, artists, and the creative sector. Perhaps more importantly, a survey by the Cultural Learning Alliance concluded that one of the advantages of arts-based studies include stronger educational attainment generally, and there are well-acknowledged connections between participation in the performing arts and stronger self-motivation, as well as improved physical and mental well-being and the development of inner resilience. Any organisation or charity currently working to support young people will tell you of the acute mental health crisis our young people face. An example of this would be Young People's Shop, which is a charity operating in Chichester that, alongside its counselling service, also runs arts-based group sessions, recognising the link between mental health and creative expression. The Liberal Democrats have long called for a mental health professional in every school, which is something I applaud, and given the connection I've laid out, I would strongly advocate for working closely with any creative arts provision in the school as an outlet for expression and stress relief. Now, I'd also like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the role that outside organisations play in giving our young people a creative education. And some of my happiest memories are evenings spent rehearsing at my local amateur dramatic society for the upcoming panto, or Thursday evenings throughout the year with my friends at Chichester Festival Youth Theatre. And I paid tribute to organisations like CFT, with one of the most ambitious youth theatres in the country. And they acknowledged that their youth theatre was not reaching the communities that would benefit from the access as well as it could. So they created 7 satellite youth theatres across West Sussex. That ensured that each of those communities had access to top quality education as well as classes for students with additional needs, theatre-based courses for school refusers and those out of mainstream education, and even launching a technical youth theatre for those young people who are far more interested in the workings of the backstage rather than the front. Now, I recognise how lucky we are in Chichester to have a theatre like CFT that puts learning and participation at the core of everything it does, but I want every child in this country to have the opportunity that this affords my constituents. And I happily give way to my honourable friend.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I'd like to thank her for securing this debate. Wales is obviously very proud of its reputation for producing great musicians, actors and actresses, and I won't try and name them all lest I forget people. But she talked of the difficulties that people entering the profession have, and the worrying fact that those numbers might be dropping off. How does she think our state is best placed to encourage people to go into the profession? Is it through buildings, investing in buildings, or investing in education, or something else?
I thank the honourable friend for his intervention, and I think it's both. I think it's about making spaces that are accessible to communities to be able to explore the creative industries, but it's also something that government can do, which is government money can be used more wisely in consolidating those funding pots so that they are utilised to best effect, which will focus on specialist world-class providers delivering both in communities and also via our education system. I'd like to finish, Mr Mundell, by reflecting that since the general election, the government has made all the right noises to suggest that a stronger emphasis may be put on creative education. So I would ask the Minister, when she responds to today's debate, to commit to a reform of the English Baccalaureate and to set out a timeline for our schools to reintegrate arts education into the core curriculum, as well as whether any further work will be done on the integration of in and out of school provision of arts education, such as additional funding for music hubs to include dance and drama. And finally, Mr Mundell, I'd like to thank the Council for Dance, Drama and Musical Theatre for their work in this area, and I would encourage the Minister in her spare time over the Christmas recess, in between enjoying carol concerts and pantomimes, to please give their manifesto for performing arts education a read. Thank you.
I would remind members that they should bob if they wish to be called in the debate. The question is that the House has considered creative arts education, and I think if members are creative and stick to about just over 3 minutes, we'll get everybody in, and I call Polly Billington.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's an honour to serve under your chairship, and I thank very much the honourable friend, the honourable member for Chichester for securing this debate. I must, of course, declare an interest immediately as the chair of the all-party parliamentary group on art, craft and design in education. When the sunsets in your town are named after the painter that made them famous, when some of the most loved comedians of the 20th century lived and partied there, and when classic books were written or set there, when music hall celebrities made their home there, when whole weekends are dedicated to celebrating the books of one of the most loved Victorian authors who lived there, when actors, musicians and creatives of all kinds flock there, you know that art and creativity is sewn into the fabric of the place that you call home. Now, everywhere you turn in Thanet, you bump into an enormously rich heritage of art and creativity. But thanks to the energy, drive and vision of many individuals in our community, art and creativity are part of our present too. From the Turner Gallery to Ramsgate Music Hall, Screaming Alley to the Pie Factory, award-winning artists such as Lindsay Mendick and our very own globally famous Tracy Emin. Our home is the home of many artists. Back in the 1870s, we even had Vincent van Gogh, who taught at a school in Ramsgate. Margate is obviously known as the proud home of the Turner Contemporary Art Gallery. That is a symbol of the potential of the creative sector to help regenerate coastal communities like mine. There is a long and proud British tradition of talking about the importance of the creative industries. But if we don't also champion creative education, then we are sentencing this extraordinary history to a slow death. Creative education has suffered hugely since the introduction of the English Baccalaureate and Progress 8, with arts-related subjects seeing a dramatic reduction in the number of students taking them. I can easily refer to the statistics mentioned by the Honourable Lady, the member for Chichester, because these are exactly the kind of statistics that strike fear into the heart of those of us who know how important art and creativity is to the well-being and advancement not only of our industries but also of our young children, young people. As Chair of the Arts, Craft and Design and Education all-party parliamentary group, I am campaigning for the department to scrap the EBAC and Progress 8 as part of the curriculum review, alongside chairs of many other APPGs who represent creative subjects, so that we can once again encourage all children to take up the arts. It's important to note that private schools know the value of arts education, and that is why they spend so much time, money and effort on encouraging it. We now have a situation when 40% of people working in film, TV and music industries were educated at private schools. A reminder, 7% of the population are educated at private schools. Now, this is entirely unsurprising because private schools understand and value creative education and the benefits of it. But talent is spread equally across all children. Opportunity most certainly is not. With the EBAC and Progress 8, the last government created a situation where arts education is becoming the domain of those who can afford it. If they deserve an arts education, then so do the 93% of kids who are in state schools. We risk missing out on so much untapped talent across the country. We don't know who the next Tracy Emin or Bob and Roberta Smith is. And if we restrict arts education, then I fear we will never know. Creativity is fundamental to the human condition, and we should expand education, not restrict it. I would like, particularly before I sum up, Mr Mundell, to point out the importance not only of the creative sector to our economy, but also the importance of learning for people with special educational needs. The crisis that we have in our educational sector for these people, for these young people, is particularly important because creative education is a way of accessing learning and helping them live their fullest lives. My final point, Chair, is I would like to pay tribute to Sammy's Foundation, which was set up by Patricia Olburn, one of my constituents, after her son, Sammy, tragically died, to help teach heritage craft skills to neurodivergent young people, to help them realise their potential and become master artisans. The reality is, young people like Sammy, who are consistently failed by mainstream education, could find their passion and career in creative education and fill a huge skills gap in the craft and heritage workforce. The new government has taken positive steps in outlining the vast potential of the creative sector, but if they want to unlock the real potential of the industry, they need to enable creative education to thrive, not wither.
Thank you, Mr Mundell. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, and I wish to thank the Honourable Lady for securing this very timely debate and for her excellent speech, much of which I agree with. I wish to make a declaration of interest as I am the chair of the APPG for Music Education, and as such I will focus my speech on the provision of music education across the country. Since 2010, we've seen a steady decline in the provision of music in our schools. According to data from the Independent Society for Music, music as a subject has experienced a 30% decline in GCSE entries and a 43% drop in A-levels since 2010. Consequently, there's also been a sharp decline in the number of music teachers, meaning that in some schools music is often taught by people who are not qualified as music teachers, and this is a deep concern. We heard from the Honourable Member for Chichester about the economic benefits of creative subjects, but there's also a personal benefits to students, such as building confidence, teaching discipline, teamwork, health and well-being, and even academic achievement being some of the benefits of having music education. But the provision of music across country is patchy. We've seen examples of excellence in two schools I've recently visited. The Aldgate School, less than 2 miles from here, all the children in year 4, 5 and 6 learn string instruments, and I had the pleasure of seeing them perform at their Christmas concert. Similarly, at Welbourne Primary School in Haringey, children in years 4, 5 and 6 learn strings too, and that's a decision taken by the leadership of those schools to do that. But these are the exceptions rather than the rule, and we've seen the restructuring of music hubs, which are meant to oversee local music provision, but with a lack of oversight. and the quality of music education as a result will inevitably be patchy. So there needs to be an urgent review of the hubs to ensure that there is high standard, as there is in Haringey with the Haringey Music Service, across the board. The government, before they came into office, made a pledge about the need for creative subjects to be taught in schools. The APPG for music education have fed into that review. I'm sure many people in this room also fed into that review. And what we hope and what we want to see happen is a return to creative subjects being taught, given the priority they deserve in schools, and being taught by people who are suitably qualified to teach those subjects. Music and creative subjects are far too important to be demoted as they have been over the last 14 years, and we want to see them rise up the agenda and be taught as positively as possible. If anyone hasn't seen the Ken Robinson TED Talk, I strongly encourage them to watch that because Ken Robinson made the right points about creativity and being necessary to give us all the skills that we need in our society. So I hope the Minister will give some indication as to when the review will report back, and hopefully when we will see creativity taught in our schools, and any other help she can give to make that happen would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr Mundell, and also thank you to the member for Chichester for bringing this really, I think, essential debate. I'm a GP in Stroud, and I've been championing arts in healthcare for over 30 years because creativity makes you better. There's a lot of evidence now that that's the case. And I would also say that the Gloucestershire ICB, the health authority, under Helen Rule, is actually investing 600,000 in creative and social prescriptions, which is incredibly exciting. I am helping to run a campaign to try and get music instrument tuition available in every primary school in this country. And I co-chair the APPG for Opera that shares this role, and also the APPG for Creative Health. I also learnt the flute at school, and recently I was asked to join the Stroud Red Band, which was one of the most fun things I did as part of my campaign to become an MP. So I thank to the people there. But there's some serious problems. 30% fall in music GCSE at school, and as we've heard, there's been a lot of issues around that. But music playing plays a massive and has a massive impact on children's mental health. And in fact, if we're trying to prevent mental health problems, probably teaching children music is one of the most effective things we can do. And also, you can use it to treat mental health difficulties as well. And also, our Tory friends may be interested to know it actually helps in maths as well, academic maths. So that's another really important thing. However, as we know, there is massive inequalities in our provision, which has been covered by many other speakers. I would say that the government is now putting 79 million into music hubs, and also the Music Opportunity Fund, 5.8 million, into people with special educational needs. I would just like to finish, if I may, just to showcase a number of local organisations. The first is Strike a Light, that bring drama and music to young people and are really inspirational. The Music Works in Gloucester are also truly inspirational, particularly to children from deprived backgrounds. And at Pramer Arts Centre in my village in Ewley, Gordon Scott, who's the director, has been teaching piano to countless children over the last 20 to 30 years. So let's get a campaign to get music teaching in every primary school. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. And can I thank the member for Chichester for the outstanding speech and actually securing this debate this afternoon. And of course, the creative arts is a topic that touches the very heart of all of our communities, whatever your constituency, and it actually has a direct impact on the economy as well, and our identity across all of our nations and regions. The government indeed estimates that creative industries generate 126 billion in gross value added to the economy and employ some 2.5 million people. Yet sometimes people argue that there is an either-or when it comes to education, that the performing arts and the arts in general are not an economic contributor. In my own council, Kent County Council reported that the number of creative jobs has increased by 24% in Kent just over the last 5 years. with 35% of these being in the new sectors of IT, software and computer services. So none of this happens in isolation, and as the Honourable Member for Chichester identified, it does link back to education in schools. Every actor, every filmmaker, every games designer has a foundation in our education system, yet recent years we've seen a worrying decline in creative arts in education. A recent report published by the University of Warwick indicated that between 2009 and 2023, UK funding for the arts decreased alongside a 47% slump in GCSE entries in art subjects. And it is absolutely right that the EBAC needs to be looked at alongside the curriculum review to indicate not just a fixation on STEM subjects. I am an officer for the Games and Esports APPG, and I can say that actually investment in games technologies and art is not only about the past, but is about the future, and there are significant amounts of revenue and jobs that can be secured in these sectors. So I think it is an economic necessity for us to look at the full breadth of STEAM skills that a 21st century economy needs. Medway in my area has a great legacy of theatre and music and production. I myself was a chorister at Rochester Cathedral and celebrate our breadth of diversity within our area. But we are being let down in our education system. So a number of questions to the Minister is, will arts be a key focus of the curriculum review so that all of our children can fully access these subjects going forward? Will we also report back on some of the changing industries of the future, specifically around gaming and games technologies and esports, which does represent a significant growth opportunity for our economy going forward and was recognised in the recent investment programme that was announced by the government. But how can we encourage colleges and schools to look at these sectors of the future and invest in those? The LGA report says that for every £1 spent on arts and culture, £4 is returned to the local economy. So how can we change this narrative that arts are not just a byproduct of a successful economy, they are an essential part of our economy? I'll just finish by saying that creative education is not just a luxury, it is an absolute necessity. It enriches lives, builds communities and drives our local and national economies. Medway in my area is a shining example of how creativity can transform places, generate prosperity and inspire generations. But we need to go further and faster for the future of all of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mundell. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Chichester for organising this debate. I'm sure we can all agree that creative arts play a unique and invaluable role in enhancing the well-being and education of our young people. The evidence is clear. Participation in creative activities and the study of artistic subjects significantly improves students' mental health, resilience and overall academic achievement. A report by the Cultural Learning Alliance revealed that students engaged in the arts are 3 times more likely to win an academic award and 5 times more likely to be recognised for good attendance. And research from the University of Manchester found that young people who take part in arts activities are 20% more likely to report higher levels of life satisfaction. Yet for too long, access to creative education in subjects like art and design, dance, drama and music has been unequal, with some students receiving little or no exposure. This has allowed creative education to become a privilege largely reserved for those from affluent backgrounds, whose families can afford access to cultural and artistic experiences. Evidence has shown that under the last government there has been an overall decline of 42% in the number of arts GCSE entries. Many schools no longer offer arts subjects at all at GCSE level, and we now have 14% lower arts teachers than we did in 2010. This is a damning indictment of the previous government's attitude and approach to creative arts education and the wider cultural sector. If we are serious about giving every child the best chance of success, we must ensure that creative arts education is accessible to all, regardless of their background or circumstances. I was therefore delighted to see the government commit £79 million to a national network of music hubs, which will give children and young people the opportunity to learn to sing or play an instrument. This investment has the potential to transform lives, performing a pathway for creative expression and personal growth. I also welcome the piloting of the new Music Opportunities Initiative, with £5.8 million to support students with special educational needs and disabilities, and those from disadvantaged backgrounds. This is essential to ensuring that creative opportunities are inclusive and fair. I would also be remiss as a proud Halesowen MP not to highlight the exemplary work of Halesowen College. Owen College is a forward-thinking educational institution that offers a large number of vocational creative arts courses, including acting, dance, fashion, graphic design, media makeup and music. With state-of-the-art facilities, the college provides both young people and adults in Owen the chance to explore and develop their creative talents. Exciting and creative educational opportunities are available right within our community. As we look ahead, we must continue to champion creative arts education as a vital part of our children's development, well-being and future success. It is only by nurturing their creative potential that the next generation will thrive.
Don't worry, Mr. Shannon, I'm saving you for the finale. Jane Kirkham.
Thank you, Mr Mundell. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship. And thank you very much to the member for Chichester for obtaining this very important debate, which I'm passionate about, and I'm really pleased to be here today. I come from an area of the country that's very rich in the creative arts in Cornwall. I spoke previously about Falmouth University, which is world-class, grown out of a 100-year-old art school, with a very strategic focus now on creativity and technology. I welcome the inclusion of the creative industries in the UK's 8 growth sectors in the recent industrial strategy. It's brilliant that it's been recognised as an economic driver in that way. Creative education has so many impacts, and just to name a few of them, skills development, even though I shouldn't really need to because they should be enough on their own, but as an economic driver, skills development, the critical thinking and problem-solving skills that you get from an arts education really help. We can then focus on these future industries like tech and digital media. It drives economic growth. Creativity and entrepreneurial skills go hand in hand, and Cornwall is teeming with SMEs and one-man bands, and they absolutely stimulate the area and the independent sector and the growth of the area as well, which is really well worth it in an area like Cornwall where we do struggle so much with deprivation.
Would my honourable friend give way?
Of course.
Just briefly, I thought it is worthwhile on the basis, thank you for giving way, just on the basis of what you've been saying about the importance of how it has helped to grow your economy locally. Can we stop anybody suggesting that art is anything other than a serious subject? Because we have had far too much of this idea that it is in some way kind of soft, easy, and doesn't actually add overall to your wider education and understanding, because it is not just an economic driver, but fundamental to the human condition.
Thank you very much for that, and you are absolutely right. It is an important subject in its sheer scope on its own, alongside the sciences, alongside maths, alongside everything else, and it does more than enriches our lives. It's a fundamental part of our lives, so thank you for that. I do apologise.
Yes.
But there is obviously the regional growth driver. We are lucky in Truro and Falmouth because those creative hubs can revitalise our regions and brings the visitors that we need so much in Cornwall in. So the growth of the Hall for Cornwall, for example, in my area, and the way it spreads its tentacles across the rest of Cornwall and brings in children and people who want to get involved in the creative arts but don't often have the opportunity, as well as the university and the Launchpad Centre at the university, where so many students go to learn games design and then can start up their own businesses and have the help to do that. We have the Poly and the Pavilion and those brilliant grassroots venues like the Cornish Bank, the Old Bakery and Chintz, which is where some of those musicians who are learning in our town then go to practice their art. We also have a community radio station that we're building in the park with our shared prosperity funding, showing just how important the arts are in Falmouth. People come to us for their arts. Also, as has been mentioned previously, when you come to alternative send provision, we have a provider called Player Ready in Truro who work with neurodivergent children who blossom when they can come and do the things they love with tuition, and it actually prepares them to go back into school and builds their confidence. So I would ask Mr Mundell and the Minister that she could consider, as others have said, looking again at Progress 8, because it doesn't contain an art subject, and that is something that we definitely should be considering, and to review the national curriculum so that the arts are in the prominent place they should be.
Last but definitely not least, Jim Shannon, and I intend to call the front benches at 5:10.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, first of all, just say this, that you've got the long yards this afternoon. You've done 3 debates, so you will have it when it comes to 5:30. So yeah, I don't know whether that gets you overtime or what, but well done to you. Can I also commend the Honourable Lady for Chichester for setting the scene so very well. First debate in Westminster Hall, and after today's example, I think it'll be first of many. Wish the Honourable Lady well and the process here as well. The creative arts, of course, across the United Kingdom is something to be so proud of. We have a fantastic range of arts and lots of enthusiastic people who make it what it is. And as always, in these debates, Mr. Chairman, as you know I do, I'm love to be here to showcase the talent of Northern Ireland and more importantly, my constituency of Strangford. The Honourable Member for Stroud referred to playing the flute. My goodness, how in Northern Ireland we love to play the flute. Playing the flute is like riding a bike, by the way, in Northern Ireland. That's everybody, or nearly everybody, learns to play the flute. Now, there might be a reason for that, of course. Oh, well, I haven't brought my flute. But I could whistle it, but I won't. Okay. Mr. Chairman, in late 2022, and I always like to make this contribution, this is a thing that we've done in Northern Ireland. I know the Minister will be very pleased to hear this and as an example of what can be done. The Arts Council of Northern Ireland, the Education Authority and the Urban Villages Initiative announced funding for the continuation of the Creative Schools programme in 11 secondary schools, which I believe is fantastic news for the education system across Northern Ireland. There are so many young people out there, and the Honourable Lady who intervened in the last speaker referred to the importance of arts. Arts is a vocation, and many people need to perhaps maybe just recognise that. There are so many young people out there who see themselves going into the artist, the film and creative industries. So giving that funding is available, as it was through the Urban Villages Initiative, and available for our local schools is good news. The Chairman, I've spoken in Westminster Hall in the Chamber before of the amazing talent that Northern Ireland has to offer, specifically within the film industry. We've done leaps and bounds with the film sector over the years, and I've noticed recently within my own constituency and neighbouring constituencies that controlled or commissioned, I give this example as well, or commissioned graffiti is becoming massively popular within the creative arts industry. There's an Ulster Farmers Union building in Newton Ards where I represent, and historically has always been subject to criminal graffiti. It has been transformed through the creative art, and it looks fantastic. And in addition to this, I've also seen many streets, alleys and indeed walls that also would have been subject to graffiti completely changed. And there is, I believe, a complete respect for the work that goes into this, which should be respected and admired. Now, that's what that programme did. And when we realise that Northern Ireland probably has a lot more graffiti than most, when you can do something creatively with graffiti, and it lasts, I think that's an indication of where we go. To conclude, Mr. Chairman, the Creative Skills Programme initially launched as a pilot scheme in 2017, and so far 1,000 pupils, 1,000 young boys and girls, men and women, a fantastic number of people destined for stardom, for progress, have benefited from the programme, which I believe places a focus on improving educational outcomes for children across a wide range of artistic sectors. It is crucial that we continue to fund this. This is not the Minister's responsibility. Continue to fund it in Northern Ireland and truly give young people the opportunity to showcase the amazing talent the UK of Great Britain and Northern Ireland has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you. I now call Anita Wilson, the Liberal Democrat spokesman, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Mr Mundell. And can I start by congratulating my honourable friend, the member for Chichester, for securing this important debate. And I've enjoyed learning a lot about her illustrious background. And I can't claim to be anywhere near as accomplished as she is, but I used to love doing amateur dramatics at both school and university. So I can see a Lib Dem drama club coming up at some point soon. Anyway, I will move on to the serious speech now. The Beatles, Damien Hirst, Amy Winehouse, Anthony Hopkins, Judi Dench, Vivienne Westwood, these are but a few examples, Mr Chair, of the brilliant artists that our country has produced over the past century. Our creative industries are renowned throughout the world, and as we've already heard, they contribute enormously to our economy, employing over 2.3 million people every year. It's vital that we preserve and grow our arts, and this starts with promoting creative education in our schools. And as we've already heard, the benefits of creative education are numerous, from developing a lifelong passion to helping children and young people with their mental health and equipping them with important life skills. Sadly, however, creative education hasn't been treated with the priority it deserves, and as a result, teaching in schools has suffered. There are currently 15,000 fewer full and part-time teachers of art subjects now than there were in 2010. With fewer specialised teaching staff and increasingly constrained budgets, we have seen a drop in the number of children taking art subjects, with enrolment at GCSE having dropped by almost a half, and enrolment in A-level art subjects dropping by a third between 2010 and 2023. This means too many children are missing out on the opportunity to broaden their horizons and to learn new skills. And at the heart of this issue is the fact that the arts have wrongly been labelled as unimportant and trivial. As a result, in the context of the overstretched budgets and limited resources, art subjects are the first to be cut back, with schools increasingly focusing on their core curriculum offer and with extracurricular activities in the arts having to be scaled back. And the Liberal Democrats believe that our children's education should be rounded and varied. And whilst too often Conservatives think that creative education is the sacrifice we must make for strong academic standards, it shouldn't be either or. It's always a both and. In fact, there's plenty of evidence to indicate there's a link between arts participation and higher attainment. So I hope the government's ongoing curriculum review and the upcoming reform to Ofsted inspections ensures that all students can access a broad curriculum including art, music and drama subjects alongside a strong focus on high academic subjects in other standards in other subjects. Now, as the Honourable Member for East Thanet pointed out in her speech, the growing lack of arts provision in our schools, colleges and universities has widened inequalities between disadvantaged students and their peers. It's often only more privileged families who can afford the private tuition, the extra classes outside of school, or an independent education, because as we've heard, their facilities are often second to none in terms of creative arts, thus disadvantaging children from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And this has a direct impact on who goes on to work in creative industries, with data showing that there are 4 times as many individuals from middle-class backgrounds as there are from working-class backgrounds in creative occupations. The arts should not only be accessible to the most privileged. If we want to harness the full talent of our children and young people to ensure that we continue to make the creative industries a powerhouse for our economy, we need to widen opportunities to the arts at every level. And it's not only schools that have seen the take-up of art subjects plummet, but also further and higher education. According to the Creative Industries Policy and Evidence Centre, over the past decade there's been a 57% drop in uptake for creative courses in further and higher education. The exclusion of art subjects from the English Baccalaureate, as we've heard, and cuts to funding by the previous Conservative government for creative arts subjects at university have fuelled this decline. And that's why the Liberal Democrats would like to see art subjects included in the English Baccalaureate to boost access to the arts, and we need to stop talking down and defunding creative arts degrees and vocational courses, as well as driving up high-quality apprenticeships in this area. Let's be proud of our world-leading institutions. Earlier this year, I visited Wimbledon College of Art with my honourable friend, the member for Wimbledon, and saw the amazing work that students do there in costume and set design, puppetry and performance. It's part of the University of Arts London, which is second in the world for art and design. We should celebrate that. And in my own backyard, just last week, I went to the Rambert School of Dance in Twickenham, where the students were putting on the most incredible show, and I know that many of those will go on to be talented performers in their own right. The creative arts enables us all to lead a fulfilling life, and they are also one of the finest and most recognisable exports that our country has. Let's give our children and young people the opportunity to flourish fully, and let's develop a pipeline of talent into our arts sector, ensuring that children and young people get the widest opportunity possible at school, college, university and beyond. Thank you, Mr. Mandel.
5 minutes.
Pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and I congratulate also the Honourable Lady for Chichester for securing this debate, which, as well as being hugely informative and important, has also been a pleasure to listen to and has given us the exciting prospect of the Liberal Democrat Drama Club, given the leader's exciting predilection for doing his own stunts. That holds up all kinds of potential. And the idea of a flautist off between the member for Strangford and the member for Stroud, an exciting prospect also. And we've heard really interesting, important, thoughtful speeches from members for Reading Central, East Thanet, Southgate and Wood Green, Stroud, Jasmine Aylesford, Hills Owen, True and Falmouth, and indeed Strangford. Very, very interesting debate. Now, this might be the last education debate of the year, barring any surprises from the Minister tomorrow. So I really want to use my moment to say thank you to all the hard-working teachers for all their efforts over this year. This time of year, when you meet teachers, I have been over the last couple of days, you often find that they are quite tired at this time of year. And often, for primary school teachers, the nativity and that creative activity is the thing that finally finishes them off and leaves them just about ready for Christmas. So I want to end the year on the spirit of goodwill and to particularly thank our hard-working teachers. In order to perhaps facilitate an answer to something which the Minister may want to get from the box, I just wondered if I could start by asking about a very specific thing, which is the music and dance scheme. Now, on the 21st of November, the Secretary of State wrote to my colleague, the former Secretary of State, to say that the government was going to extend transitional support for this scheme. And so from 1st of January 2025, for families with relevant income below 45,000, my department will ensure their total fee contributions remain unchanged for the rest of the academic year. So this is in a sense a pause or a stay of execution here. And I just want to ask the Minister, when will she make a decision on the future of this really good arts scheme so that they can have certainty beyond the end of the academic year? And will she continue to hold down fees for those who benefit from this for the next year? And can I also ask about whether the government will continue to support a related project, the Choir Schools Scholarship Scheme, and whether the Minister will commit to maintain that scheme? So with that very specific thing entered at this point in the debate so the Minister's got a chance to respond, I want to come to the wider debate that we've been having. And of course, we've already talked about some of the things that the last government did, music hubs, which I think are widely welcomed. But without wishing to move from the spirit of goodwill and Christmas to being the dog in the manger, of course, the issue is always time. Our hard-working teachers are already working flat out. And there are, although I in theory and in principle love the idea advanced by the Liberal Democrat front bench that it shouldn't be an either-or, there are unfortunately only a certain number of hours in the school day. Now, if the Minister gets some wonderful, huge sum of money from the Treasury and manages to hugely expand the school day and we can do all of these things additionally, wonderful. And I will be the first to welcome all of that. But our teachers and our schools do face some inescapable trade-offs. And as the Minister will by now know, every week on average there are 4 different calls from different groups for something new to be put onto the national curriculum or for something to get more time in our schools. And they can't all have more time. My only caveat in, or what some people have said so far in this session is this idea that there are creative subjects and non-creative subjects. Some people have talked about STEAM, which I think is a better concept because of course the sciences and all these other things, they are creative subjects too, and I think it is a good thing that those things have rebounded, having fallen from 83% to 70%, getting double or triple science between 2006 and 2011. That's rebounded and is now up to 98%. That's a good thing. But we've got to be honest about what the trade-offs are. If we want to do more of one thing, we have to be very clear and honest with people about what we're going to do less of, unless there is some sudden money gusher. Of course.
I just wanted to ask him. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you for giving way. I'd like to thank the gentleman for giving way. I'm just interested in this idea that there is a limited amount of time for state schools in their curriculum, but there doesn't seem to be a limited amount of time for creative education in private schools. If this is important for private schools, it's important for state education, for state children, stately educated children. Why can't we find the time for it?
With respect, I'm all ears, and it will be for the government to say where they will find the time for these things. In principle, of course, I've got no objection, but I don't believe that the Honourable Lady believes that there's an unlimited amount of time in the school day, that our teachers can all do endlessly more work. Of course, that's not the case. No one believes this. So there are choices here. And one thing, if I can return to the spirit of goodwill at Christmas, can I commend something good that the government has published, which is the evidence pack published alongside the curriculum assessment review, and it is a good piece of work, and it shows some nuance in this debate which isn't always there. It shows you that actually, while in some of these art subjects the numbers doing GCSE are somewhat down, the numbers doing other types of qualifications are going up at the same time. And really, a lot of the bigger changes are nothing to do with art subjects whatsoever. We see less time going on ICT in schools and more time going on English, maths and science. So I commend this very good piece of work by the government to people who are taking part in this debate, and I strongly endorse the nuance it brings to the debate. We all want to see more of these wonderful things happening in our schools, but I also beg for everyone, we've got to be honest about the trade-offs that involves.
Minister, and I'd be grateful if you'd leave a few moments at the end so that Jess Brown-Fuller can respond to the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I will endeavour to do so. I'm very pleased to be speaking in this debate, and as it's already been said, probably the last education debate this year. And what a lovely subject to be speaking on as well for the final one. And I really extend my congratulations to the Honourable Member for Chichester for securing this debate and on this important subject. And it was excellent hearing very much about her performing arts background, teaching, from teaching to advocating here, and obviously still enjoying it. And I'm sure many of us are enjoying creativity during this festive season, and maybe being to pantomime or two. And I'm not encouraging you to do a pantomime here, but it's absolutely, and in myself, in my own constituency, I'm looking forward to going to see Sleeping Beauty. And I'm sure many honourable members, where you've spoken about your theatres and your creative arts and creative places in your own areas, I'm sure you're also enjoying visiting them and partaking in that as well. And it was really excellent and lovely to hear about the many things that have been spoken about, but also obviously the many challenges and the many changes that are needed, and the fact that we need to go further and very much holding the government to account for our mission statements and our reforms that we're looking to be put in place. So I also just wish to thank the honourable friend from East Thanet for his contributions, from her contributions, and very much speaking about the SAMI Foundation and the need to make sure creative arts are there for people with SEND and that are neurodiverse as well. Very much thank my honourable friend for Southgate and Woodgate for speaking about music hubs, and we've heard music hubs being spoken about, and again the need to review arts and creativity. Honourable friend for Stroud talking about the need to campaign, and very much agree that creativity and the arts really do help with children's emotional health and well-being, and I'll be speaking about that as I endeavour to speak further. And also that obviously it's lovely to hear it helps with maths, so why wouldn't we want to hear that? That's absolutely brilliant. And I thank the honourable friend for Chatham and Aylesbury very much for talking about the worrying decline in the arts, really, but the need to inspire our generations to come. Thank the honourable member for Hawes Owen for raising concerns about declining GCSE, and again talking about hubs. The honourable member for Truro and Falmouth, really just talking about the missions and growth and SMEs. And of course our honourable friend over there for Strangford, and it's lovely to hear him speak about many things, but including graffiti and how that is an art and how it can make real positive changes. And obviously very much the honourable member for Twickenham spoke about many things, many relevant things, as she often does, and very much the need to make sure that the curriculum is rounded and varied, and couldn't agree more with that, and is broad. And I'm sure that we're all advocating for more fun in our children's studies, and their ability, not just fun, but their creative ability, and that can be obviously fun, and fun learning can be fun as well, which we hope that it is in our schools. But very pleased with the many contributions that have been made, and I will endeavour my best to respond to all of those contributions in the time that I have. But please do make contact with myself if you feel you have not been heard or not been answered, because we very much endeavour to do that. Now, this government really recognised the immense value of creative subjects for every child and young person, extending far beyond career aspirations in the creative industries. For instance, it supports the child's ability to express themselves, it helps their confidence, it supports their emotional well-being, and many other areas. Creative subjects like the arts, music, drama, and many other areas are significant elements of the rounded and enriching education that this government believes is for every child. We want every child to have the ability to receive this. And that is why subjects like this are part of the national curriculum for all maintained schools from the age of 5 to 14 and beyond for drama. Academies too are expected to teach these subjects as part of their statutory requirement to foster pupils' cultural development. Indeed, many schools currently teach creative subjects as part of the curriculum and do so with great success, which enables children and young people to engage with subjects like music beyond the school day. The government's goal is to ensure that no child is deprived of the enriching experience that creative education provides. We aim to ensure consistency is in our approach across all of our schools. The government's mission is to break down barriers to opportunities that hold back many of our young people. We know that this will take time, but we are committed to taking the right steps to make this a reality. A crucial step in realising our vision is to ensure that our national curriculum strikes the right balance. It must embody ambition, excellence, relevance, flexibility and inclusivity. That is why in July we launched an independent curriculum and assessment review for ages from 5 to 18, chaired by Professor Becky Francis, CBE. This review will seek to deliver a broader curriculum with improved access to music, art, sports, drama, as well as vocational subjects. We'll also look closely at the key challenges to attainment for young people and the barriers which hold children back from the opportunities they should be able to access. This is an important process, and the recommendations put forward by Professor Becca Francis and her expert-led panel will be published in 2025. I know many people have mentioned that, and that is very crucial. We recognise that while potential is widespread, opportunities are not, and that disparity has held many young people back from fulfilling their true potential. To ensure that music education is fully conclusive, including for those with special educational needs and disabilities in both mainstream and special schools, music hubs are required to have an inclusion lead and develop an inclusion strategy. Furthermore, the government will launch a new national music education network. This initiative will help families, children and schools access broader opportunities and support. Through the Opportunity Mission, I really don't have time, I'm afraid. Through the Opportunity Mission, we will also work to break the link between young people's background and their future success. Our focus is on supporting the most vulnerable and disadvantaged children, and we'll continue to take steps to ensure that opportunity is not just restricted by young person's location or background. Now, our goal is to help families continue supporting their children in accessing specialist music and dance courses. Therefore, we have made changes to the music and dance scheme for this transitional academic year. From January 2025, we will ensure that families with below average incomes receive additional support to prevent any increases in parental contributions due to the VAT change. This adjustment will benefit around half of the families with music and dance schemes bursary for their child. I would like to give the Honourable Member some time to respond. So on that note, I will end. But thank you all for your contributions, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas.
Jess Brown-Fuller to wind up.
Thank you, Mr Mundell. Can I just thank honourable members, the Shadow Minister and the Minister for coming and talking about the importance of creative arts education and how it will foster the next generation of well-rounded and emotionally intelligent young people that can thrive.
Order, order. The sitting stands adjourned. And well in getting through exactly on time.